Yeah, guys, welcome to this the buzz. I've done another one, another stream. I thought I would after the Carabao Cup last couple of days. I thought, well, why not? A lot of incidents again from them. A lot of great stuff happened. Great matches, especially the Spurs and United. Incredible match, 4-3. Obviously, there's the quarterfinals, of course, and also I thought I'd make it a joint one with the preview for the Bees versus Forest. I thought I'd do that one as well as I'm doing this. Combine it all because I may be doing another stream later on another channel. So, yeah. So I thought I might as well do that, guys. And apologies for being late again as usual, but. Other things happened, but I will. Don't worry. I've decided I will get it better for next year. I said this last year as well, of course, that I was going to be on time, and it never happened. It's not happened, but I definitely will for next year. I promise you all. That'll be my actual proper New Year's resolution. That I'll be on time for these. When I say I am, and as I schedule them, and I should get there on time. And I'm sorry if I disappoint anyone, and major apologies to everyone. If I've done that, and obviously I've got Manny on here, and apologies to him. I know he's been waiting patiently. I said 1 o'clock, but obviously, yeah, he's he was there. I just see him there waiting, but obviously he'll be back anyway, and I'll bring him on very soon, so we can get into all this and all the talking points. It was a great couple of days in Carabao Cup. Unfortunately, we're out. The Bees are out as usual. Out with a whimper, I'm afraid. The Bees, stingless, terrible. Away performance, but obviously I'll get into that later on. Talking about that, I had enough of that the other day talking about it. I didn't go into a massive rant. I thought I was, but somehow I kept it in a bit. I sort of bit my tongue a bit, or lip a bit, and tried to keep it a bit milder than it would have been. But anyway, I will bring my guest on. Manny has come back, so I'll bring him on. Nobody else in the live chat at the moment, but I'm sure hopefully everyone's watching live or maybe on playback, so that'd be great. I'll just bring him on now. Be up to you, Mr. T. How are you, my friend? Hope you're well today.
Yeah, all good. Thank you. All good. Thank you. All good. I think there might be some issues with the Wi-Fi with regard to the delay of sorts, and about a little bit late. But you did say you had some problems, but hopefully all's well that ends well. And a lot to talk about, and I'm just waiting for you to
we're
get everything started.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, we're crack on with a couple of great night stays, you could say, of Carabao Cup action for the quarterfinals. It was very exciting. Some great matches. Not our one, of course. Our one was poor. We were poor, and deserved to go out. But anyway, we're going to that a bit later on. And but we're going to start with this one. Southampton 1, Liverpool 2. A great performance by managerless Southampton, who actually performed well without a manager. Well, who knew, eh? Russell Martin was hampering them, wasn't he, being there? But Liverpool, Liverpool into the semis to face Spurs as Saints announced new manager, which they have done apparently, and we may talk about that in a little while, obviously. But what did you make of this match, Manny?
Well, obviously, given where I am, I never got to see coverage of any of the games. I probably would have had to follow them on good old BBC Sport with their text updates and everything. And what a difference a new manager makes in the corresponding league fixture at St Mary's. Southampton got it handed to them in that first half alone. Did well enough to keep a clean sheet in the second half, and then of course it was a much more improved defensive display at this time around in the League Cup. And it just goes to show, Steve, that sometimes when it comes to playing cup football, you've got to pay attention to your defense, because one defensive or goalkeeping mistake, as we will definitely find out earlier, can send you out of the competition.
Yeah.
I think before this match, a lot of people were pretty much this off as sort of a free hit. Nobody was really expecting the Southampton team to, cause Liverpool any problems. It was bottom against top in the Premier League, and everybody had a resounding Liverpool win on their cards, but certainly showed that without having to follow that certain agenda from, playing out and passing all the time, you can still do it. And it's a lesson, really, that what works well in the Championship will not work well in the Premiership. And how many times have we seen so many clubs, boss the Championship but end up going straight back down from the Premiership because they just couldn't cut the mustard? And sadly, it just goes to show that Martin might not be any different. The only issue is that if Southampton do eventually go down, I hope they will not blame either this interim manager, Rusk, his name is, a certainly delicious sounding name. Remember Farley's Rusks from back in the day? Very delicious. I used to enjoy them, I'm sure you did too.
Yeah.
But
little kid didn't
blame the interim manager or the new manager if, as expected, Southampton don't quite make it. Because really what happened was just continued mismanagement, really, from Martin. And there comes a time when if things don't work, you don't stick to it, you change it, for Pete's sake. And that is something that Martin failed to do, as Matt is being a manager one-on-one. And I see you've got the name up there, certainly an exotic-sounding name with some exotic-sounding credentials. But look, it was as expected. Liverpool did what they had to do. I think they were 2-0 up before Southampton pulled one back, or I could be wrong. Southampton showed that under the right manager, they could certainly fight and hard. And hopefully we'll see some more improved displays from them, although you get the feeling it'll be too little too late. But as for Liverpool, can their season get any better? Top of the Premier League, top of the Champions League group stage table, and now into the League Cup semi-finals, barely breaking a sweat. They should be odds-on favourites to win, but as we know, cup football is a really funny old game, isn't it?
Yeah, mate, it sure is. It wasn't funny for us, but yeah. But yeah, it's...
and you can read the article while I come back, because once again, I can't hear you.
No worries, my friend. No worries. Cool. But yeah, until Manny comes back, we'll crack on, and I'll read this out anyway about Ivan Juric. He's looks like he's agreed a deal to replace Russell Martin as head coach at Southampton, former Roma boss. Ivan Juric agrees deal to become Southampton's new head coach. He will replace Russell Martin with club bottom of the Premier League. Ivan Juric has agreed an 18-month deal to become Southampton's new head coach. The deal includes a break option which will be reviewed this summer. Should Southampton avoid relegation this season, Juric's contract can be extended by a further 2 years. Juric is set to take over at Southampton after being sacked by Roma last month, where he lasted less than 2 months. Southampton have been a long-time admirer of the Croatian, with the 49-year-old having previously been on Saints' list to replace Ralph Hasenhüttl when the Austrian was sacked 2 years ago. Saints have also sounded out West Brom boss Carlos Corberán and former Denmark coach Kasper Højlund, while Sheffield Wednesday's Danny Roll had also been linked with the job. Who is Ivan Juric? The Croatian manager started his coaching career working under Gian Piero Gasperini, who is currently the revolutionary head coach at Atalanta. Juric worked in Gasperini's coaching staff at Inter Milan and Palermo before taking his first job at Serie C side Mantova in the 2014-15 campaign. The following season, he took a Serie B job at Crotone, and got them promoted to Serie A for the first time in the club's history that term. He did not take them into the Italian top flight, though, as he was offered to replace Gasperini at Genoa, which he accepted. Juric then had 3 separate spells at Genoa in the space of 2 years, being sacked by the club 3 times between February 2017 and December 2018. He finally found stability at Hellas Verona in 2019, who had just been promoted to Serie A. With one of the smallest budgets in the league, he kept them in the top flight for 2 straight seasons before taking the Torino job. The Croatian left Torino at the end of last season after 3 seasons in Serie A and took on the Roma job in September of this year after the Friedkin group sacked fan favourite Daniele De Rossi. Juric, however, did not even last 2 months as he was sacked with the Giallo Rossi 4 points above the relegation zone. Right. Right. I don't know if you heard much of that, Mr. T, but about this guy, Ivan Juric, but sounds like he's had an interesting career so far with the clubs he's been at.
I did hear quite a bit of it, Steve. I also did a little bit of research by looking up the Wikipedia article on him. I know Wikipedia, whatever, but you know, for what it's worth, it does provide a more often than not accurate summary of the managerial and playing careers of certain personalities. And 3 spells at Genoa, sacked every time. The man must either love Genoa very much or probably been the biggest glutton for punishment you can see. And each time, Steve, he'd be sacked after the club had a pretty poor result. So why you would even want to consider going back to that, nonsensical environment, I would never, ever know. But hey, crazy little thing called love. People do stupid things, eh?
Yeah, true. Well, he could be waiting for.
And
could be waiting. Sorry, did you say something, mate?
And obviously, yeah. No, I didn't say anything, but go ahead, Steve.
No, I was going to say you better be careful because he could be waiting for the hammer to fall again, couldn't he? If it all goes wrong. But sorry, keeping on that Queen theme there. But yeah, this could be a mistake, as you say. I mean, I was surprised they're not going in for Danny Roll. I thought that looked likely, the most likely to do, as he was assistant, I believe, there or something before. Danny Roll, he's announced Sheffield Wednesday, of course. I thought that was the most likely to happen, that they would go and get him, because they obviously prepare. You'd think they're preparing for life back in the Championship, wouldn't you? Because I can't see him staying up unless they think this guy can keep him up. What do you think, Manny?
You know, there was something in that article by Sky about how, how he was able to keep a club in the top division despite having a very, very low budget. And maybe they probably thought that he could be that person who would, take things that seriously and really make things a lot better. I'm not too sure if it'll work at all, to be honest. And he was, of course, one of the many managerial casualties that Roma had before they finally settled on a certain Claudio Ranieri. And Ranieri isn't going to continue in the job beyond this season. He'll move into a more administrative capacity. And a lot of people say, in lieu of Ruben Amorim walking away from a high-flying Sporting Lisbon to take the Manchester United job, that it's like any Premiership team these days will probably, prove to be an attractive proposition for many managers, but we all know the reason why. In the words of the famous song, it's all about those Benjamins, baby. Although we don't have Benjamins, we have Elizabeths, or now Charles, I think.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think Southampton thought that they could try going for a bit of a bigger name. They wanted to have a bit of a profile, and maybe Yuri felt as though he wanted a challenge. But again, this bloke seems to have a record of, joining clubs and being dismissed. I think they see him as very much as sort of a stopgap purchase. I cannot see him staying for the longer, especially if Southampton get relegated, or although, maybe he knows something neither you or I know. And I just think in many ways, Steve, this was probably done for the sake of it. There were some other options, but maybe those other options didn't want to take their chances on a club like Southampton, which literally seems to be, as status quo would say, going down, down, deeper and down. And it's just certainly the status quo is something that needs to be changed, it has to be said. So I wish the bloke good luck. I hope he does well. And I'd like to see a change in managerial style from what Martin did. It's kind of sad, really, because Martin could have, after that wonderful playoff win against Leeds United, he could have sealed a brilliant legacy at Southampton and really, done a great job in keeping them up and making them play some better, more spirited football. And further to that point, if Kieran McKenna is able to work miracles with Ipswich, then he does all of the credit and respect that he can get. But it just goes to show that in the ruthless world of football, there seldom is room for fairy tales.
Yep. Yep, definitely. That's for sure, 100%. As it says here, much better by Southampton. Will interim boss Simon Rusk will still be in charge of Southampton when they go to Fulham on Sunday? Well, I guess so. This manager won't come in straight away, I wouldn't have thought. I wouldn't think that'd happen. So I would think it'd still be Simon Rusk for the time being, temporarily. They're 9 points on safety at the bottom of the Premier League, but that was much, much better by the Saints in the second half. Yeah, I thought they performed a lot better. And, of course, Mr. Dibbling was great again. Mr. Dibbling, wasn't it? Mr. Dribbling, we should say, was really great again for them.
I wonder if, like a certain Mr. Kipling, Mr. Dibbling might end up having his own brand of delicious pies.
Yeah, they'd be dribbling all over the plate, wouldn't they? Yeah, but yeah, I think he's a serious talent. Well, he got the socks down like a Grealish, isn't it? Jack Grealish style with the socks down. Maybe he could be better than him the way he's going. Hasn't got as bigger calves either. So, but no, I mean, I think he's a real talent.
And once again, I'm going to have to leave and come back.
No worries, mate. No worries. Yeah, I think that this guy's a real talent. Dibbling, real talent. Whether they can keep hold of him is another thing. He's a fine player, but let's see what else we can fine there. Yeah, we fought as a team and came away with a win. Liverpool's Harvey Elliott speaking to Sky Sports. We came into this game knowing the circumstances that Southampton were going through and knew they were going to come out fighting, and we were ready for it. Some of us hadn't played so much this season. We also had really young lads in the team, but we fought as a team and thankfully we came away with a win. On Southampton's performance, I wouldn't say I was surprised by it because if you look at the Premier League, they cause problems for us as well. They are a side full of confidence and they are not scared to play up from the back and take risks. Credit to them, they caused problems for us today. We had to make sure we stood strong and defended as well as we can as a team. And despite conceding one goal, we did that really well. Just see if there's another. Yeah, there's more here about Southampton Liverpool. Liverpool can prepare for Tottenham away on Sunday, having rested Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk. In addition, Trent Alexander-Arnold was replaced at the start of the second half. Arne Slot will also be back on the touchline at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. A lot of positives for Liverpool. Francis Benali there, ex-Southampton player, I remember him. Very good defender, no-nonsense defender. Really good. He's raised a lot of money, I believe, for charity. I think he had something, maybe cancer or something at one time, and has raised a lot of money, I believe. So, yeah, a very underrated player. I'm sure you remember him, didn't you, Manny? Francis Benali?
Yeah, I do. I do seem to remember that he ended up staying at Southampton until the end of his career, despite no longer being first choice, becoming a sort of a cult hero of sorts. And, obviously when people heard about him sticking around, many of them were quick to say, he's got no ambition, he's wasting his talent, blah, 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 the same thing they were doing to Carlo Cudicini, among others. But, when he was playing, obviously, he was a big part of why Southampton were a tough team to play. And obviously, in the days when they played at the Dell alongside, Letitia and Jason Dodd and sort of even I'm trying to remember. Yeah. At one point, they even had the ex of Kerry Dixon and David Speedy there for the time. But I also seem to remember that in the 90s, they were struggling to sort of remain in the top division, and it wasn't really easy for them at times. But Benali was a fine defender, a fine player.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. He was, and this was a good game. I mean, I think Southampton done well here. I think that's going to give the new manager a lot of confidence in this team and what he's got to work with, because obviously he's going to inherit the same team that Russell Martin had. Can he get even more out of them than Russell Martin did, really? I mean, he has got some talent there. As we say, Dibbling is one of the talents. What was that big guy's name that came on? Oh, I'm trying to forget. Trying to remember now. The Nigerian guy. Oh, massive.
Not Nigerian, Ghanaian. Kamaldeen Suleiman.
Ghanaian, yeah. Sorry. He's a big guy. He's big, but he's got a lot of skill, hasn't he? He's got a lot of good close control. Whatever, he's a massive guy.
Mate, he's a World Cupper. He was a part of the Ghanaian World Cup squad, quality player, and I told myself, when they signed him, I told myself they signed an absolute quality player, and it's just unfortunate that he hasn't quite been able to get it quite together as of yet. But I don't suppose you can really blame him that much. Really, rather blame the team. But maybe there's some hope, but we'll have to see how things work out.
Yeah, definitely. but yeah, let's move on. No, I'm not going to talk about that one just yet. I'm not in the mood to talk about that one just yet. The bees one. Right, let's move on to your one, Manny. A fine win in the end, just about, but you got through after a shaky start and going behind, of course. Arsenal 3, Crystal Palace 2. Palace take the lead, but Jesus is the saviour for Arsenal with awesome hat-trick. Eddie comes back to put Arsenal's defence in trouble briefly.
Yeah.
But Arsenal face Newcastle in the semi. Thought you might like that.
Yep. You remember the joke I would say that Jesus isn't a messiah, but rather a very naughty boy. But this time around, he shed his naughtiness and became a messiah. And credit to him, he's actually done well in this League Cup. Maybe, he should start as more of the cup striker from now on. Because in as much as we are literally ranting about how the German donkey can't hit a barn door, Jesus, when he comes on to replace him, doesn't really offer too much more. But Arteta keeps insisting, no, it just seems to be a confidence issue more than anything else. And, I think it's good for him in a way. He probably was one of the few standout players. Some of our first teamers who came on, Martin Odegaard for one, didn't do really well. And it was also notable, of course, for the return of Braveheart Kieran, who had a fine game himself. Usual running up and down the wing and whipping in some crosses. Classic Kieran Tierney, but I'm afraid we might not see much of him anymore. He's been told that his services will no longer be required at the end of the season, and so rather than let him leave for free, we might be selling him, and we're going to miss him. Wonderful player, but we hope he smashes it wherever he goes. And now coming back to my proper English accent, no more of that Scottish stuff, and I have to apologise to any of our Scottish friends who heard that drivel. Raheem Sterling started. A few good moments, but once again, every time this bloke plays, you clearly see that his best days are long gone. And as for Jakub Kiwior, the Pole, a tall pole standing upright, doing nothing. Completely flummoxed for Mateta's opener and being allowed to be out-jumped by the 5'9" ex-Arsenal striker to score. I mean, even that bloke could never hit a barn door with us. He comes back, our defence in trouble now that he's in the room. And so it's a 3-2 scoreline. So look, we had our good moments, but going in at halftime 1-0 down was never going to be good, and it needed, a change to make things happen. And I think Glasner probably, dropped a bit of a clanger by taking off his best players to replace them with some others who probably weren't able to have that same impact. Methinks, though, he was saving them for the return Premier League clash when we go all the way to South London to play them at Selhurst Park. And once again, I'm pretty sure Eddie will be coming off the bench, and I do hope he doesn't put us in trouble. But look, we had some good moments, but also some worrying moments. And again, there are still some question marks as well about David Raya. And again, the only reason why Raya is playing is because Neto is cup-tied. We have to put up with the likes of Tommy Setford or some other bloke on the bench. It's stupid. It really is. And our reward for our endeavour is a tie against Newcastle. I only hope that Joe Willock doesn't do to us what Eddie Nketiah did to us. But as you told me in the group chat, Willock is a much better player than Eddie ever was. And so at least we're through to a semi-final. We were in a League Cup semi-final before under Arteta, but then, we threw that away completely. Aaron Ramsdale had a poor game. And, this tournament, in as much as our fans thumb our noses at, represents a realistic chance for silverware. But if he mucks this up, I can't see him going as far as we'd like in the FA Cup. Forget about the Champions League. And there'll be no talk about bigger fish to fry and all that nonsense. So, look, I'm glad we're in the semi-final, but I'm not going to celebrate very much. We never should have conceded those 2 goals. I'm sorry.
No, true. What happened to this guy, by the way? Jesus, Jesus. I call him Jesus because it is the Christmas period, the festive period, and it's the season for miracles, and Jesus was resurrected here for you, and came back and got a hat trick. And where have those goals been for you all this time? He said it was because of his daughter, apparently. Of course, he's had another new daughter, apparently, another child. I think he brought her with him to the ground. He took her out onto the pitch, I believe. I think that was her there. He was old, yeah. Obviously, his baby daughter or something. So, he's saying he's done it for them. I thought, yeah, but how about doing it for your team, mate? It's not just for your daughter. Why can't you score any other time? Because you're so inconsistent. Why would City would have kept hold of you if you were any good at getting loads of goals? And now he's turned up with 3, but where have they been when you really needed him? Where were they? Where were they? Manny, that's what I want to know.
Yeah, very true, very true. But listen, you could say the same thing about that German donkey. He scores a few goals, and then we ask him why can't he do it more repeatedly. But Jesus' problems obviously have been a lot more, well documented. The poor bloke had some issues with injuries. Obviously, maybe it's a lack of confidence, as Arteta was saying. I think, child, do not underestimate what that can do for a person. It can really offer them a sense of perspective, a sense of peace, a sense of, feeling like a superhero in a way. You feel as though you want to set a great example for your daughter. You have that new burst of energy and enthusiasm and strength, and I suppose it's paid off in some ways. Would I like to see him score a lot more goals? Yes, I would, absolutely. And we spent quite a good bit of dosh to get him and the other City reject Zinchenko to our club.
Yeah.
And of course, technically, we have another City reject in Raheem Sterling, who still isn't quite able to, muster very much. I think for the likes of Jesus and Sterling, the Carling Cup has been quite profitable for them. I think Sterling scored against Bolton, I think it was. I think so, yeah. So I think they're doing well in this, and obviously they feel as though it's a chance almost immediately to win a trophy. But, Arteta has his own ideas about, who he'd like to start in the Premiership and in the Champions League. And he has started Jesus in a couple of Champions League games, and he hasn't really delivered. Maybe, this could be the thing that sort of brings about, bigger returns in terms of goals scored. I don't know. We're going to have to see. But, yeah, good for him. Good for the team. Shame about the 2 goals conceded. Allowing Eddie Nketiah to out-jump you and score will be a real black mark on Jakub Kiwior. I don't care if he's an international for Poland, and even there, he was a part of that Poland team which, flattered to deceive, as Scotland somehow leapfrogged them from last in the table to third in their playoff against Greece. But look, Jesus should start scoring a little bit more, but maybe this will give him some confidence, and maybe we need to be a little bit more patient with him. But in any case, end of the season, if we're not satisfied with him, we, pack him off. Simple as that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm going to have to pack myself off, but I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Yeah, cool, mate. Cool. No worries. Right. I'll carry on reading this with Manny off again. So I'll carry on. This is obviously Gabriel Jesus and talking after the game. Got the match ball there, proudly holding the match ball and the trophy for player of the match, which he richly deserved, really. I've scored a lot of goals, but sometimes I have this problem with a lack of goals. Yeah, we know, mate. We know. I can create, I can make assists, I can run and help the team defending. When I score, everyone sees, but when I don't, they want their striker to score goals, and I agree with that. That is why I'm working a lot in training, finishing more, putting myself in a good position to finish the action. I think my hard work has paid off. Arsenal boss Mikel Arteta on hat-trick hero Gabriel Jesus. It's now about consistency. It's a moment of spark that will bring so much to the team that we can rely on him to change games. Yeah, exactly. We need to give him more chances. Yeah, exactly. You do need to give him more chances. So the Crystal Palace perspective on the game. Crystal Palace boss Oliver Glasner. It was the perfect start. Already in the first half, we looked like we played with too much respect. A little bit too cautious, especially in possession. We need a performance of our top level, and it was not a performance at our top level. It was positive that we scored 2 goals, but at the end, it is a little bit frustrating because if you score 2 at the Emirates, and it should have been a penalty shootout at least. Yeah. On Arsenal's second goal, I think it was offside, but there is no VAR. Everyone knows this. They had too many chances in the second half. We gave them too many chances. When they found the gaps, we shifted too slow. Let's listen. Hear Manny's opinion on that. What did you think of Oliver Glasner's comments there, Manny?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned what Glasner said, and obviously the second goal was, of course, offside. I don't know how I overlooked that, but again, this sort of highlights the stupidity of the Football League to not have VAR in these games, especially given that, they're all Premier League clashes. At least for that, you could have had it. And you should have VAR for the entirety of an entire tournament, because especially if you've got smaller teams that could end up being mucked over by these poor decisions, it's not going to be a good look. You've got to have VAR for everything, just like with the cricket connection when England and South Africa played that one-off test. There was DRS, and the South Africans did have a couple of pretty poor decisions against them, including, as you know, the South African captain Lauren Volk. But both of us agreed that England played so magnificently well that those 2 mistakes really wouldn't made much difference, to be honest. But here, Glasner has and he says that when you play as and go in time 1-0 up, you have to try to at least take the game to penalties or maybe close it out to it and all that. But there were gaps that I think the team sort of positivity, but hasn't felt to blame, as I said, for taking off his better players. I think he took off, but he seemed to have been saving them for this weekend's clash at Selhurst when the Gunners come to town. A sort of a picture there. So I think Black had a few points, but he also has to look at himself. What the apparent though is that they're starting to, at least in theory, turn the corner at Palace. They just haven't had the luck that they needed. But if they're able to have a little bit more confidence, they can cause a lot of teams problems. And I'll tell you what, if we're not careful, they're going to cause us a lot of problems too. We could end up getting our noses bloodied. And that's why I might even go so far to a full draw, because when Eze and Mateta come here in that level of form and our defence is flattering to deceive, once again Arteta will go back to picking the likes of Havertz and other players. He's not going to pick Kieran Tierney. It'll be Mike Kelly. We may end up having our defence in all sorts of trouble. It could be full of them all over again, and it could be all over again. It could be Newcastle over again. And it could be Everton at home all over again. So Palace do have a lot to be reasonable about. I'm sure they would have loved to have played the semi-final, and they're very disappointed and angry with that. But their priority, at least for now, be the league, maybe the FA Cup. They can try and give themselves a run over there.
Yeah, I thought they put up a good display here anyway, and they did take the lead, and they did worry you for a while, and that possibly that they could cause an upset here, and if you could call it an upset now, I suppose, I don't know. I mean, Palace are on fairly good form lately. They've been picking up some points now and wins, so you couldn't have ruled them out totally for this, and it did cause a lot of scares for you. So it wasn't straightforward, was it, in the end? Really? But yeah, I think they should be happy with that. Should be fairly.
Not by.
Sorry, mate. Go on.
No, I said no, not by any means. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. But yeah, I think they should have a lot of confidence on this Palace, as you say, going back to the Premier League now to carry on with that. I think that's probably more important for them now to think about their Premier form and staying up, and they are moving up a bit now in the Premier. I still think Glasner is a good manager. I said it when he came there. And they went on that madness when he came there. Was it last season, end of last season, whatever, when he started there, and they were doing the madness. And I think they will. I think if they come, I'm sure they come out of it. They'll be they'll be out of trouble down there. They won't be in relegation zone or anything. So I think probably even next season they can build on it, really. But yeah, a great performance from them. Unlike another certain team, and I'm going to have to go to it. I'm not happy, but I'm going to have to move to this. Newcastle 3, Bees 1.
Yeah, before you do, let me just say that they were doing a madness last season. I think it's fair to say that Glad converted Selhurst Park into the House of Fun, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one step beyond for them, wasn't it? Yeah, but yeah, but unfortunately, I'm going to have to talk about this now, Manny. I don't really want to, but I've got to. Newcastle 3, Bees 1.
As you must.
Dismal Bees away form dumps us out with a brace from Tonali, and Cher also scores another to forget for us Bees fans, which it was. Terrible. Disaster. It didn't help we had a player injured just before the kickoff. Vandenberg picked up an injury. So we had to bring Collins in, who was playing anyway, pretty much, Nathan Collins. But he came in. It was a bit chaos and all over the place for us there. I guess you can give that as a good excuse. I don't really want to. I think it was pathetic again from us. I really do. A disaster, absolute horror show. I was watching the game, and some of the time I was watching it through my eyes like this. The game. It was like a horror film when I was little. I couldn't watch it properly. I was watching it through them. And then I was going behind the sofa because I was so, looking at this performance again. It's terrible. It was terrible. Yeah, Newcastle came out of traps well, and they obviously wanted revenge after the 4-2. You could see that. They come out brilliant. They pressurised us. They didn't give us time on the ball whatsoever, and they were really good. And Tonali, yeah, as much as I hate the guy, he was banned longer than Tony was, and he come back and he's got 2 goals against us. 2 very good goals, actually. But he wasn't marked properly. Nobody came out to block him, to block his shots or do anything. They gave him the freedom of the park, pretty much, of St James's Park, basically. So, you know, what can I say, mate? I'm not happy with this performance. Yet again, it was pathetic. Away form is shit. What can we do about it? Have you got the answer, Manny? I haven't.
Well, if you can hear me, and if you can't, I think I might have to go off again. But I think briefly, maybe one thing which they can do, since they seem to love home comforts that much, is to take the Brentford club chef with them on these away trips, so that he or she can cook their food, the food they enjoy, back at the Gtech prior to the game, and have them sort of a taste of home comforts, really. And you know, it's interesting, really, that Chris Waddle talks about the confidence coming back. And for quite some time, Newcastle were going through a little bit of an iffy patch. We know that when it comes to playing some of the bigger teams, they definitely give it as good as they can get. And they end up, you know, blooding a few noses. But when it comes to games against some other teams in the Premier League, teams like yourselves and others, they end up coming an absolute cropper. And Hopeless Pope is a big factor in that. Of course, Martin Dubravka ended up starting, and he has been starting a little bit more recently in lieu of Pope's injury, and he has done well. But now there are reports linking him to a move to Saudi Arabia, where he will hobnob with a certain Mr. Tony, and he's joining the club whose manager has now left to take up the Wolves job. Go figure. But they seem to be a lot more well organised, and I think Tonali's return has really helped. And I remember saying, you know, as a preview of that share being suspended means that, you know, we could end up facing a weaker team. But I tell you what, do not underestimate Tonali and his talent. He will probably slot in alongside Joe Linton. Maybe Joey Willett can start the first leg at the Emirates. Incentive for him to try and do well against us. And he did, in fact, score against us at the Emirates last season in the Premiership, and made that infamous assist. We saw us lose at St James's Park. But, you know, at their best, Newcastle are well organised and they can dominate. And as long as they've got Isak firing on all cylinders, they're always going to be a bit of a threat. But it's just that the midfield seems to be a bit of a problem. And I'm sorry that after the euphoria of your 4-2 win at Gtech, you weren't quite able to, you know, get it together. I would say, definitely go so far to say that, you know, Newcastle were good value. And I think maybe Brentford just need to find a formula to sort of make them do better away from home. And it certainly didn't help that your bete noir, Roslev, came on. I know you don't like even the mention of his name. You absolutely despise it. But,
Sorry,
you know, it's a case of everything that could, you know, everything that could go wrong did go wrong for Brentford. And it was just one of those days. And look, hopefully sooner rather than later, you'll find a way to get something back. And maybe, you know, if you can just take some more positives from the game you played against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, you can figure out a good formula for success on the road. But for now, it's back to the drawing board, and Newcastle play us in the semis. And I think you might want to do a preview. You might want to talk about the next game. I'll just go out and come right back. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, okay, mate. Yeah, no worries, no worries. Right. Yeah, obviously I'm still carrying on. I'm still doing this one. We lost to a better team. Yeah. Brentford boss Thomas Franks told Sky Sports we lost on the day to a better team. We can't concede 3 goals. That's the bit I'm very disappointed with. You're not the only one, Thomas. You're not the only one disappointed with it. I'm sorry. It was terrible. Absolutely terrible. We have to sort that out. It's in a difficult quarter-final. We can't concede 3 soft goals. Yeah. Fair play to Newcastle. Some were well worked. But if we want to progress to semi-finals, we need to do better. No shit. No shit, mate. Newcastle won't play an easier quarter-final tie. No, they won't, will they? We were easy. Nothing. No sting whatsoever. It was terrible. And there's been question marks on our medical team now. And I'm not surprised. Why are these players getting injured like this? We had Thiago out once again. Apparently had an infection in the knee. I think it was in the knee or something. Somehow he's got an infection there. Vandenberg was out when he should have been playing. He last minute before the kickoff. He had to be replaced. And we're going to find. Got an article about this actually. I want to look through before I move on, because I'm just not happy with this. Why are we having medical issues? What is the problem? I thought, I'm sorry for mentioning this, Manny. I know you were there, but Arsenal had all this, and they seem to have corrected it a bit more and got it sorted. But we are now having this issue. Why our players are still injured? Why we can't get them fit? Why they're getting injured again? And it's worrying me. It's absolutely worrying me, because we need these players fit. We haven't got a massive squad. We haven't got these all these other great players we can turn to that, so many off the bench like City or Arsenal or even United or even Spurs maybe, I don't know, or the other big teams up there. We haven't got that to fall back on. We got a handful of decent players, good players. And Bomo, Visser maybe, Damsgaard, I guess, Lewis Potter, Shardy, yeah. Now and again, see these players do it now and again. That they're not, consistent enough. We have got some really good players there, no doubt. Yeah, now Norgard, unfortunately, he was another one injured. Norgard. He normally plays. Jensen, another. What's wrong with him now? It's all unravelling for us. It really is. And, we're having to rely on the likes of fucking Roslev. And I hate saying that name because he's such an embarrassment to me. And I think to a lot of the other fans, I'm sure. Some seem to like him for some reason. I don't know why. I can't see it. But, it is worrying. I can't help feeling like this about it. It's just horrible. And, we could be doing even better than we are. But, we're having these injuries, and then the away form is not helping either. Because when we go away, we're stuffed. We're done. We're dead. As soon as we go away anywhere, we've got 1 point, and that was against Everton, who sometimes can never score a goal to save their lives. They defend well, good defensively, but cannot get goals. And we got a 0-0 with them. So, once we go anywhere else, we're done. We're dead. And against Spurs, same happened there, 1-0 up. We take a lead, can't hold on to it. Lost 3-1. 2-0 away at Liverpool. A pathetic performance, of course. That wasn't good. I mean, as well as Liverpool are playing, and they're a great team, Liverpool. We didn't perform there. It was only 2-0, I suppose. So many other games we've been in the lead, and we just, we can't hold on. And it's away from home. We try and go defensively as well. And why? If we can attack well, we can get goals at home. Yeah, we're conceding them. But if we can do that still away, why don't we? no guts, no glory in a way, I think. But this is a hard one to take, I think. For me, we went out of a whimper. All those other games, all the teams were pretty much still in it and fighting. They didn't go out softly, meekly, We did. We were poor. There was no fight. There was nothing. It was poor. The passing at the back again with Flecken and whatever. It's not good enough. I don't know what to do. I'm so pissed off with this. It's just knocked me so much. And I know we can be good, a bit better than this. We were up there, 6 at one stage in the Premier this season. But as soon as we win a game at home, we do something at home, we get goals and we win. We lose away. All the good work is gone because we're losing again away. And I just don't know. It's a total mystery. And I'm going to get this article up and. I want to see what they say here, and I'll bring Manny back. But sorry, Manny, I've gone into a bit of a rant again there. But yeah, this thing about the medical team, it's I'm wondering why we still got all these injuries, why we can't get these players fit. Why this keeps happening. And as I mentioned on there, I don't know if you heard it, I said about Arsenal, because you had all this at one stage, didn't you? Where a lot of your players were going croak all the time, playing on those hard pitches as well. Training pitches didn't help, did they? So I don't know if that's the fact. I don't know, but it seemed to be the way. And then you got your players always injured. So it's the same with us.
Yeah,
To us.
Yeah, but we still have some players getting injured. I mean, quite a few players, likes of Tomiyasu and others, are still out of commission, and we don't know when or how long it'll take for them to be back. And of course, Tierney, after having a blinder, had to go off. But Arteta did say that it was just cramp, and he should be in the squad for the weekend. And I'm hoping to see him at least come off the bench in the Premiership. But enough of that. We've had our issue. We still have our issues, and obviously, you might want to go in depth into the article as to why you're getting these injuries. And injuries are never in anyone's hands, and players always push as hard as they can for the team and try to get themselves in good working order. It's just a case of just bad timing in many cases, circumstances as well, and that's something that has to be dealt with. And with the players that you've got still on the treatment table, Henry, Pinnock, and a few others, it's not really nice reading. But we don't also exactly have an empty sick bay bill of health. We've still got players injured. And as far as the away form is concerned, it was interesting how you say that you end up getting stuffed when a little bit like a dead parrot. Once you step onto a field away from home, you cease to be. Bereft of life, you rest in peace. You kick the bucket, bite the dust, hop the twig, snuff it, the dust, breathe your last, and then go to meet your maker. Maybe
it's resting.
Maybe Frank will find. Yeah. So maybe Frank will find a little bit of a formula. Yeah. Of course, you're not dead parrots, you're dead bees, perhaps, but I don't want to get too far into that. But obviously, you can read the article here, what Frank has to say. Frank, of course, did say that he wanted to see Newcastle win the League Cup. I think they made the final, but then they had a issue where they had their first-choice goalkeeper suspended and the second-choice goalkeeper cup-tied. So they had to play that German donkey Karius, and it didn't go too well. But yeah, this article looks very interesting. You might want to read it. Let's go in depth into it.
Yep, hopefully it will tell us a lot more here. I hope so. Frank's open discussion with medical department. Brentford boss Thomas Frank. Well, this was actually for March, so it's a lot earlier this year, but obviously it's still going to say a lot about it, I think. Brentford boss Thomas Frank says the club are having open discussions in order to examine why they have suffered so many injuries this season. The Bees have lost the likes of Brian and Bomo, Rico Henry, Josh De Silva and Ben Mee in an injury-ravaged campaign. But of course, Bomo is playing a lot more now. And Ben Mee's come back, so that's not really the case now. We have definitely had too many injuries, said Frank. We are looking into it. We are having a very open discussion with the medical department. They have been working very hard to get players back. We all want to minimise injuries. In this competitive league, it has been incredible what the players have been doing, stepping in for others and competing. We have Arsenal a more or less even game. Gave Arsenal a more or less even game, and we're very unlucky not to get something out of it. Well, we're talking probably the 2-1, maybe, if I remember rightly. Yes, I prefer to have the best players available, but we can't feel sorry for ourselves. We need to keep going, keep fighting, and keep doing our best to perform. Not really gone that much as I thought into it. I might have to look for another one. What do you think about that, though? What was said there, at least, Manny?
Yeah, I mean, that's the story of a lot of Arsenal managers in recent times. Mainly, of course, Arsene Wenger, who had to deal with a lot of injuries during his time, and Mikel Arteta is also no different. Could it be, an issue with the training methods? Could it be an issue with the poor quality of the medical staff? I just don't know. And, if we had the answer, we'd bottle it and sell it. But sadly, we just don't, I'm afraid. And see, you've got another article. You can just read that. But listen, I've got a little errand to run and I'll be right back. Yeah?
Yeah, no worries, mate. It's fine. Yeah, I'll be going into this for a little bit anyway, so don't worry about it. It's cool. See you in a little while, mate. But yeah, Antonio Nusa issues injury update after failed Brentford. Well, this was obviously when all this happened. We tried to sign this guy. Very good player, Antonio Nusa. Very good young player. 31.5 million we had agreed with Club Brugge for the winger in what looked like a coup for Thomas Frank's side amid previous interest from Chelsea and Spurs. But of course, he underwent a medical with the club, and we were told he had back injury and other stuff to do with his legs and whatever, various other things. And that was total BS, because the guy has played pretty much a whole season nearly for Club Brugge. He doesn't have injury problems. So what was the actual real reason? What is wrong with our medical department here? I really want to know, because this is not good enough. I really want to find this out, because we were told that this guy, and I've seen bits of some action of him, footage of him and stuff. And he looks a real talent. He does look a real talent. He looks a fine player. Looks really good. Got a lot of good talent there. We were told he was, a prodigious, sort of prodigious. Can't even say it. Prodigious talent. I can't get the words out today. Sorry, guys. But anyway, he was a prodigious talent, and would be the next big thing. And he was, this and that. And we thought we had a wonder kid on our hands, another wonder player, And then when he tried to join, it was scuppered with a medical. We were told all this shit about him, that he's got this bad injury with the back and legs or whatever. And really, that was bollocks, because no, I don't think he's got any problems there, probably. But no, I mean, but no, it was shit. It was bullshit. because this guy has played pretty much the whole season for Club Brugge. So I think there needs to be an inquiry here. This is not good enough. You know, apparently we feel that our medical team has scuppered our first team, our players, Rico Henry and Hickey, and of course now Norgard and players like that, Jensen, are having issues. Our new striker, Thiago De Silva, has been out for ages as well. There is an issue there. There's a real problem down at the heart of that, at the centre of our medical team. It's not good. I think something needs to be done. There's got to be some sort of inquiry, and at some stage, I hope it happens, because we can't keep going on like this. And if it is down to our medical team, fire them. Axe the useless pricks, you know. Get them out. If that's the issue, get them out of our team, out of our club. Anyway, Manny, I've gone off on a rant again, but apparently this all looks. Did you see this about this guy Antonio Nusa that we tried to sign?
Yeah,
saying he's got injuries.
I did hear about Nusa, and obviously I did hear about Nusa, and obviously, you know, it was disappointing for you that it didn't quite go through. And that last statement you made there, I completely agree. If there is any kind of malpractice going on, then, you know, heads have to roll. But that's something that will have to be left for another day. And, you know, it's not just you. Even we need to have an investigation. Every single club needs to have an investigation into it as to what. I mean, if they're having so many injuries, it just seems, you know, right that they should be questioned. But you know, that's obviously a story for another day. And, you know, another club that's dealing with injuries right now is, of course, Tottenham Hotspur, which, of course, was mentioned in that article about Nusa. And they obviously had a huge, it was bonkers, it has to be said. And you'll tell us more about it. But Ange was talking after the game about how he's had to deal with so many injuries. Don't forget, he doesn't have his first choice goalkeeper, Vicario, which is why he had to play his second goalkeeper. And several other players are also on the treatment table. And yet somehow they managed to provide us entertainment. Of course, are we not entertained? Of course we're entertained. But if we're Tottenham fans, we're not. Also, they tearing our hair out and think, why do you do this to us, mate? You're raising our blood pressure. You're sending us to the emergency room. Knock it off.
Yeah. Oh god, but it's it's not good. I'm not happy with that, Manny. But we move on, and hopefully there will be an inquiry or something about it. Something's got to be done about it. But anyway, we move on, and what a thriller this one was, this game. Some match. Spurs 4, Man United 3. A real thriller, awesome stuff from both teams. Both keepers were shaky. No VAR, but would it have disallowed Spurs' fourth goal, Manny? But we will get into that in a little while. But what I mentioned here for Dom Solanke, he's turned up with 2 goals in a game, and it's about time, isn't it? Brilliant from him.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, I still maintain that he's been a great purchase for Tottenham, and they've certainly showed the faith in him that he deserved following those brilliant performances at Bournemouth. Craig Beasley and company will tell you after that win at Dean Court that they don't miss him that much. But I'll tell you what, they would still give a little bit to get him back, because Evan Nielsen isn't quite able to, score as many either. But this is an absolute thriller, and you go in at half time 1-0 up, but then you end up scoring 2 to 3-0 up, and then how could you possibly even think of throwing that away. Fraser Forster, you played for England, you played for Celtic. What were you thinking? You're well into your 30s now. You're experienced enough to know better. What were you thinking? Serious. And but even outside by India didn't exactly, cover himself with glory. We might be saying bye India to him very soon. But please read the article, Steve. I want to hear everything in your voice.
Yeah, sure. I will do. I've got another article about the goalkeepers actually in a minute, Manny, and I'll do that in a minute. But obviously, I'll just do the report of the game because it's a hell of a game, mate. And I was so thrilled with this. Some games are so boring lately. You get negative passing backwards, nothing happening. But a game like this, it was really entertaining. 4-3. Yeah. Both defences, or goalies, you could say, were pathetic, were useless. But the great attacking play, forward play was brilliant. And obviously, it says saying here, like a song that changes time signature for the hell of it, like a friend that inexplicably blanks you, like a match report that noodles away for ages instead of just telling you what happened. Tottenham Hotspur remain medically incapable of doing things the simple way. This is becoming a kind of mania, a disorder, a cry for help. What is this? Who are you really? And can you not? For all this, Ange Postecoglou's side are League Cup semi-finalists. The latest plot twist in a season where nobody can really agree whether things are going well or not. Great football, but also some terrible football. But also 3 games from a trophy. But also 10th in the Premier League. But also 2 goals for Dom Solanke. But also 2 goals basically given away by Fraser Forster. And this game was the video explainer you would give to someone who had never seen Tottenham play before. 3 goals in a rampant first hour. Dejan Kulusevski and James Maddison running amok. Yves Bissouma, a pillar of poise in midfield. Jed Spence and Archie Gray sparkling in unfamiliar defensive roles. Then the childlike defensive implosion to allow Man United a richly undeserved path back into the game. Then Song Heung-min scoring directly from a corner. Then finally, another United goal to make it 4-3 because, why not? There will be a temptation for United to take the positives out of this, to put the Spurs goals down to freakish individual errors, to put their own down to a voracious pressing game, being further honed under Ruben Amorim. This is an urge they probably need to resist. Amorim is a smart enough manager to harbour no illusions about the scale of the shambles still awaiting him. A squad that basically looks 3 points to the win and in need of a little sobering up. For all the vague hate or Jesus vibes they have pursued, I nearly said Jesus, but it's not to do with Arsenal. All the vague Jesus vibes they have pursued Amorim since joining the club. Perhaps this was a valuable reminder that these are many of the same players who crashed and flailed, saying effectively under Eric Ten Hag, a combination of the once good enough, the potentially good enough, and the not quite good enough. Anthony and Victor Lindelof and Johnny Evans are still hanging around the place. Altay Bayinda has 3 years left on his contract and definitely should not be allowed all of them. There is still a new system being seeded and sowed. Marcus Rashford is still marooned on the thinking chair. And for all their new energy and thrust, United still look uncomfortable in defence, disturbed by teams who make them turn and run. 1 clean sheet in 8 games tells its own story. For an hour, Spurs simply ripped them up, a version of themselves that Postecoglou must wish he could roll up in a duffel bag and take everywhere with him. This is Spurs when it all makes sense, full of hard running and clever angles and flicks upon flicks. When the players are largely interchangeable because the parts are meant to interchange anyway. Spence, a right back at left back, Gray, a midfielder at centre back, at centre half, Kulusevski on the right, but occasionally moonlighting on the left. Passages of humming chaos in which possession is lost, regained, lost again, regained again, to the point where you're not quite sure whether they're attacking or defending. These were the combinations that produced the first goal, Pedro Porro, with a shot from distance, Bayinda parrying the ball into the path of Solanke, who buried the rebound first time. United had spells of possession, but the final pass was often lacking. And with a diet of long balls being pumped up to Rasmus Højlund,
Be back, Steve.
No worries, the wider strategy was not entirely legible. It was still not legible when Spurs doubled their lead 47 seconds into the second half, as Son drove through the centre. As Maddison overlapped on the left, United was still grasping at phantoms, herding and narrowing. A safety in numbers that was really no safety at all. Kulusevski slammed the ball in from close range after a non-clearance by Lisandro Martinez. When Solanke created and fired home the third, emphatically in the 54th minute, it was game over. At least unless Spurs did something unutterably stupid, like giving the ball away to Bruno Fernandes 5 yards from goal, or letting Ahmed Diallo tackle the ball into the net. Well, you won't believe what happened next. First, Forster and Radu Dragusin shared an awkward moment. Fernandes stole in and substitute Joshua Zirkzee had a tap into an empty net from 2 yards. The sort of range from which Zirkzee, and indeed your most elderly relative, is deadly. Next, Forster divvied over a clearance Diallo put in a speculative slide, and Forster, a man older than many countries, obligingly smacked the ball straight at him. There were a couple more late scares, even after Son scored despite United howling for a foul on Bayinda. Evans headed in to stir a little undeserved jeopardy into the final seconds. But Spurs held on as they hold on to the dream of a first trophy since 2008. It would be a profoundly strange thing to happen, but Spurs are turning into a profoundly strange team. Right. A very good article, that, Manny. Very funny, some of it. What did you make of it?
Yeah, it was one of those really crazy games that had everything, and I was following everything on BBC Sport. And I think you mentioned that you have an article about the goalkeepers. I think that might be the BBC Sport article.
Yeah.
It's like, how can Spurs play so well and then just lose their focus? And I remember being on Eugene's watch along and being there in the chat with him. Shout out to him and also the Spurs Danalist, two really fine people, of course. And maybe before the end of this year, Eugene might have another of those midweek streams that you and I both enjoy. He does some watch-alongs these days. Poor bloke stays up until 6 a.m, his time, to watch the match. You can imagine. Forster pretty much sold his team up the river twice. And, of course, the second goal, where he dilly-dallied and allowed Diallo to sort of, just scored by, is the article, of course, has there been a worse display from two goalkeepers in the same game? Oh, it's very hard to put your finger on it. I mean, I don't remember such a game happening. I don't think you might remember a game either. But
No.
This is another reminder that unless Spurs really keep their concentration, they're not going to do very much. When they beat Manchester United at Old Trafford and thrashed Aston Villa in the Premier League, that was the best of them in many ways. They were ruthless and they were definitely putting teams to the sword, but they also made sure that they never lost their focus or allowed themselves to completely get overawed by their opponents. And that day under Ten Hag, United were extremely poor. Even now on Amorim, who made some pretty bizarre selection choices, it must be said. they weren't really that much better, conceding 4 goals like that. And as far as Aston Villa are concerned, Aston Villa were excellent value for their money in the first half, but in the second half, it was a shameful capitulation which had the excellent Unai Emery hair out. But Spurs just need to keep their focus, and you can't keep using the excuse of injuries every single time, because if you're good enough to do as well as you're doing in Europe, you sure as hell should do a lot better in the Premier League. And maybe they do have a chance of winning something. I think the Carling Cup could be quite but obviously now that they're coming up against Liverpool, I don't see that happening. But they have to keep their focus, and they can't get away with that sort of tomfoolery against some bigger teams. And against Liverpool with Salah, Nunez, Gakpo, Diaz, Szoboszlai and company, the names roll off my tongue very easily, and they should be enough to give Tottenham fans nightmares. And if they aren't afraid or very afraid, then they're absolute gluttons for punishment. Having said that, though, as much as I would hate it, if you were to have Spurs and Newcastle in the final, you could end up seeing Sonny and Cher playing.
Oh, yeah, very good. Very good, Manny. I like that one.
Heung-min Son and Fabian Cher. Sonny and Cher.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I got it, Manny. Don't worry. I got it.
Be like walking in Wembley rather than Memphis.
Oh, God.
I know you did.
Yeah. Yeah. If for some of these players, if only they could turn back time, eh? Yeah, but
and I'm sure if Spurs could turn back time, they wouldn't make those mistakes.
Yeah, true. And I think they've been shot down in flames just like Jesse James, mate. But anyway, and all they got to do is believe, isn't it? Can we carry on with all this? But anyway, all these songs. But yeah, I might as well go into this because this is quite a good article. Actually, I'm sure you probably even read it yourself, but I will. We'll just go into this. Has there been a worse performance from 2 goalkeepers in the same game ever? That was a question.
Well, you can read the article, and I'll be back. I've already read that anyway.
No worries. Has there been a worse performance from 2 goalkeepers in the same game ever? That was a question posed by former Liverpool defender and Sky pundit Jamie Carragher after Tottenham's Carabao Cup quarter-final win over Man United. It was a match in which United's expected goals, XG, was 2.38 and the actual goals were 3. And Tottenham scored 4 goals from just 0.67 XG. The keepers in question were second choices Altay Bayinda of Manchester United and Fraser Forster of Tottenham. They were each directly responsible for 2 goals, while one shot, which didn't actually end up in the net, was kept out by a save which had commentators literally laughing out loud. Yeah. So what happened? Bayinda's parry helped Spurs lead. It felt like the story of the game was going to be something else entirely after Tottenham took a 3-0 lead. The first goal saw Bayinda given a chance in the cup over usual number 1, Andre Onana, parry Pedro Porro's 25-yard shot straight to Dominic Solanke to slot in. The goalkeeper has to push that wide. He cannot push that back into the danger zone, said ex-United captain Gary Neville on Sky Sports. You could argue that the United defenders are sleeping, but as a keeper, you have got to make sure that goes out. Dejan Kulusevski and Solanke again seemingly put Spurs in control. Forster takes matters into his own hands, feet. But 36-year-old Forster, deputising in recent weeks for the injured Guglielmo Vicario, took centre stage. Moments after making an outstanding save to keep out Joshua Zirkzee header, he was caught out by the United striker. Forster received a pass from Archie Gray and under some pressure from Zirkzee, passed the ball straight to United captain Bruno Fernandes. Fernandes picked out Xerxes via a deflection, and it was an easy finish for 3-1. He's not amazing with the ball at his feet, Fraser Forster, but he hasn't even looked where Bruno Fernandes is, said Neville. He's not aware at all. Former Tottenham midfielder Michael Brown, watching for BBC Radio 5 Live, said he gets given a difficult ball, but then he tries to be too calm and cool. He plays it right to Fernandes. It's an awful mistake from the goalkeeper. Just take a touch, clear it away. One of the most Tottenham things you will ever see. It got worse 7 minutes later. Forster again received a back pass from Gray. Took too long on the ball, and as Amad Diallo slid in Forster's attempted clearance, ricocheted back into the goal. That was 3-2. Ange Postecoglou is looking down to the ground in shock and disbelief, said Brown. Forster takes far too long. Diallo just slides in and takes a risk, and because of the poor tempo of the goalkeeper, he gets in front of it, and the ball flies into the net. You can't make mistakes like that at this level. Neville added, "This is one of the most Tottenham things you will see." Oh, Fraser, he thinks he has time and an age. But Ahmed closes down with unbelievable tenacity and he goes for it. It's like when an outfield player goes into the net, goes in net. I think it means goal, I suppose. Yeah, outfield player goes into the goal. Yeah. Those two United goals sparked a panicky spell from both Spurs and Forster. As the visitors poled forward in search of an equaliser, Diallo took aim with a speculative shot from distance that was heading straight at the ex-England keeper. Instead of getting down to keep the ball out with his hands, however, Forster booted it away with his feet like a defender clearing off his own line. In Forster's defence, Carragher said afterwards it was good save because the 6'7" keeper would not have been able to get down in time. We all burst out laughing, but there's no way he could have got his hands down so quickly, he said. At the time, Neville was less forgiving. It's like when an outfield player goes in net at the end of training, he said on co-commentary. They don't want to break their hands, so they just whack it clear. The chaotic series of events led to United's players standing on the edge of the Spurs box ready to charge in if Forster took it short, which he did once, while home fans cheered when he went long another time. But Bayindir bows Forster out. It really felt at that stage as if United were going to score an equaliser. But Son Heung-min's corner flew straight over the head of Bayindir, who tried and failed to punch it away, and into the back of the net to put Spurs 4-2 up. The Turkey international instead insisted he was fouled by Tottenham's Lucas Bergvall, who touched his arm, but the referee disagreed and the goal stood. There was a slight arm on his left arm. That's what he's asking for, said BBC pundit Brown. But ironically, he goes to punch it with his right arm and misses the ball. He could easily take that, no danger at all. There was still time for one more goal with United sub Johnny Evans heading past Forster at the near post. He could have saved it perhaps, but it ranked low on the list of things goalkeepers should have done better in the game. Sometimes they stuff up just like I do and you do. After the game, Bayindir continued to argue with the officials with Onana next to him. The Cameroonian will not be worried about losing his place on the back of this performance. Likewise, usual Spurs #1 Vicario on crutches spoke to Forster, who has started the past 7 games. Tottenham boss Ange Postecoglou told Sky Sports, "The first one affected Fraser, and then the second one came as a result of that." Sorry, it's probably a bad impression. There was the impression there of old Big Ange. Okay, mate. Always winning my second season. Always win something my second season, mate. Second season. Come from a land down under. Yeah, later, speaking generally, he said, "It's part of football. Mistakes will happen. You're asking for perfection in human beings and that doesn't exist. Sometimes they stuff up just like I do and you do. The Australian was asked again about the goalkeeper in his post-match news conference. He was disappointed because he was outstanding for us, even with his feet. He found some great solutions, he said. Amorim, meanwhile, did not attribute any blame to Bayinda, who was making only his fourth appearance in 18 months of the club. Right. So, I'll bring Manny back. And terrible Aussie impression there. I tried. But anyway, I gave it a go. But yeah, what do you think? I know you've read it already, Manny. What did you make of it all?
Yeah, first of all, on the Aussie accent, you might need to take a few pointers from a good mate of mine, Steve-O, the Aussie Gooner. Give his videos. Try and do a couple of streams with him if you can. You'll get a pat. Or it seems to me that you haven't been watching enough Neighbours, mate. But it is what it is. And yeah, plus, obviously, Ange was talking about the injuries that have affected him. Yeah. Obviously, Ange was talking in the match press conference about the injuries that affected his team and how they're without several of their first teamers. In addition to Vicario, who, as you mentioned, was on crutches, they're missing Mickey van der Ven and Christian Romero, their two first-choice centre-backs, and several others, of course. And this particular article obviously talks about, Forster saying you can't expect option in human beings. I mean, no goalkeeper is perfect. Certainly not Emi Martinez, certainly not David Raya, certainly not Mark Flecken, certainly not Andre Onana. Yes, Orest, I went there. And as Hannah will agree, certainly not Bob Sanchez. Yeah, and occasionally, they're going to muck up. We'll make a few mistakes. But, obviously, he was quick to defend his goalkeeper, saying that ever since coming in for Vicario, he has been outstanding. The big problem with Fraser is that when you spend so long as a backup goalkeeper, so long that it effectively mucks up your chances of earning more caps for England, and then suddenly get thrust into the spotlight having to play some games in succession, it can sort of affect you in a way. I mean, Ange worked with Joe Hart, who was obviously also at Spurs before going to Celtic. Why Joe didn't see it fit to dissuade Ange from going to Tottenham, I will never know. Maybe he tried, but Ange had already made up his mind. And when he started playing at Celtic, he also, felt the pinch of having spent far too long away from the starting lineup and was making a few errors. But he settled down to become a truly solid world-class goalkeeper that he used to be for England, and he ended up retiring with many, many trophies and becoming a Celtic legend. 7 trophies in 3 seasons, thank you very much. But, this is also obviously going to be a problem, and it's no wonder that goalkeepers will want to try to, consider moving on if they're not getting to play regularly, because regular football, the lack of it, can really hurt their rhythm and hurt their confidence. But, of course, when you have the experience that Forster has, having also played for England and Celtic before Hart came up there, you've got to know not to do a few things. I think maybe United sensed that there would be a bit of weakness in Forster's game, and obviously with Amorim bringing on Xerxes, who I call Joshua Zigzag now. Remember that old program on the BBC, BBC Two, that iconic opening sequence? Yeah. I call him Zigzag now, Joshua Zigzag, the way he runs, and certainly the way upsets defenders. I think Amorim probably was smart enough to sense a weakness in Forster's game, so he wanted to bring some faster people on. He brought on Xerxes and 1 or 2 others, and they caused a few problems. Amad Diallo as well. He was creating a madness, and for those few moments for Amorim, it was love. Nothing more, nothing less. Love was the best. Heung-min Son stepped up with that perfect corner kick, and what Altay Bayindir was thinking, I don't know. And then Johnny Evans came in and provided a late consolation, which also added more to the drama. But going back to the article about the goalkeepers, Bayındır happens to be a Turkish international too, and he played plenty of games in the Turkish Super League before coming to Manchester United. And you could say that he suffered a great deal with the likes of Ten Hag throwing Onana over him. Obviously, Ten Hag and Onana worked together at Ajax, and of course, with a Tottenham connection, they were both They both played in that infamous Champions League semi-final, which Tottenham won thanks to a Lucas Moura hat-trick. And of course, Heung-min Son was in the team that day, along with a certain Harry Kane, who's now at Bayern Munich. But you know, sometimes as a reserve goalkeeper, it's difficult really when you're not playing, when you have to literally be one who works even harder than the starter in training, only to sit on the bench, and you just think to yourself, it messes with your mind a great deal. And there was a time this season when we thought that Fraser Forster could very well lay claim to being the best backup goalkeeper in the Premier League for the way he was performing. I think Philip Jorgensen from Chelsea will say, hold up there, mate. I've got a claim to that title now too. But it's difficult for second goalkeepers, but that doesn't excuse the mistakes they make. And I think Gary Neville said it perfectly when he said that with Bayındır's, you can't push it out into danger area, especially if you don't know your defenders are there to back you up. And as for the second one, to concede that sort of a goal, it brought back memories of David Seaman against Macedonia. And, as heartbroken as I was for him, it was stupid to have the 5'8" Paul Scholes, on post duty there. You've got to have your taller players there. And it didn't look good, but Forces didn't look good either. So to answer the question whether or not we've seen poor displays from both goalkeepers in one game, I think this might be the first one. And both of these goalkeepers are going to have to try and dust themselves off and recover. With Bayındır, I think he might play 1 or 2 games in the FA Cup if it's against league opposition, because I don't see Amorim turning to Tom Heaton, and I think his United career will be over. He might retire and become a coach at the club. But that's pretty much as good as it's going to get. But as long as Vicario is out, Forster will still continue to play. And as long as he's got the confidence of his manager and his teammates are there to support him and appreciate him for the job he's done, then he should recover very well. And I'll tell you what, he has made some good saves this season, whether it's in the Premiership or the Europa League. And he did make a good save last night before that first ridiculous. So he just has to shake it out of his mind. And every single goalkeeper will make mistakes, but it's here. And once again, I am sorry, but I'm going to plug my favorite. One of the things which I do like about Emi Martinez and why he continues to do so well and why he's still rated the best goalkeeper in the world is that even when he makes a mistake, you see that he will work on those mistakes in training and make sure he tries to improve his craft. He also has therapy sessions to try to deal with a lot of the issues that happen with him, like how it might affect his confidence or what have you. And this is a person, Steve, who is dedicated to his craft. And that is what goalkeepers have to do. That is the example to which goalkeepers have to aspire. You shouldn't you shouldn't aspire to, enjoy the fame and, everything that comes along with it, like Aaron Ramsdale did. He spoke about how he loved singing along with the crowd and winding up opposition fans. And, he also spoke about how he couldn't concentrate for periods in games. Well, mate, that's why you're no longer with a top team like Arsenal. That's why you're with Southampton and on course to have a 3rd relegation in your career. So you've got to be less like Aaron Ramsdale and more like Emi Martinez your game. Work on yourself away from the field. Deal with everything and just make sure that, you don't allow things to affect you. And that is one of the reasons why every game you see him, he still comes out with confidence. I did, however, of course, say that he should have been rested for the games both against you and Southampton if he was carrying an injury. At least one of them, Robin Olsen should have been given a chance. And he did do reasonably well when he came on for Martinez against Chelsea, in my opinion. And that's going to be another issue, namely how managers treat their second goalkeepers. Managers have got to treat their second goalkeepers with understanding and empathy, because it's not easy for them to, you know, be on the bench all the time while someone else gets to play every single game. It's like, what do I have to do to get some minutes around here? I work my ass off and I don't get anything in return. And players' real salaries are not the pay packets they earn every week, they're minutes on the field. So Mourinho was good at doing that with Chelsea with Petr Cech and Carlo Cudicini. And that's why he had both of those goalkeepers playing at a pretty decent level. But eventually, Cudicini completely lost his ability, and he ended up having a pretty mediocre career, which is why you should never waste your talent being on bench, earning a big pay packet and living the life of Riley at a big club. You've got to have the ambition to, you know, do well and aspire to do more for yourself, like a certain you-know-who. But it's a difficult issue to have, and it just goes to show that if you're a manager, if you want to have two great disposal, you've got to make sure that you give all of those players more than adequate minutes and make sure that they are made to feel valued and appreciated. And when you do that for them and you tell them that they are quality and you can expect good performances from them and you have confidence in them on a regular basis, as a whole at least, then you won't see them making as many mistakes. Just my 2 pence here.
Yeah, well said. And by the way, Emmy, if you're
I'll be
watching,
right back, Steve.
Your number one fan is right here. Manny Angadarai. Your number one fan, Emmy. Sure, you must be hanging off his every word. Oh, good. But yeah, when he comes back, I'm going to ask him about that fourth goal. Whether he thinks VAR would have disallowed that. Because that is obviously the question, the answer we need to know from this. Would they have disallowed it? I think it would have been a soft one. I think it shouldn't have been disallowed, whatever. But yeah, I think even with VAR, that would have been really soft if they had disallowed it. But you never know with VAR. So, but I'll bring Emmy Martinez, number one fan, back. Here we go. So
I deserve that.
I'm asking you this question, Manny. This question on here: would they have disallowed that fourth goal, VAR, if they had VAR there? Do you think they would have done?
I don't think so, mate. I don't think so. Now, it kind of reminds me with, of course, an Emmy connection when Aston Villa played Juventus. They had a last-minute free kick taken by Tielemans. The Juventus goalkeeper, Di Gregorio, fumbled it, and Morgan Rogers lashed it into the net. But it was disallowed because Diego Carlos was adjudged to have, touched Di Gregorio and impeded him. I think because when Diego Carlos made contact with Di Gregorio, I think it was close enough to have sort of impacted him. It was sort of on his torso-ish area. So it was deemed to be an impact, really. Now, I don't know if the impact in question on Bayendi's hand would have been enough to impede him from making the save. I think it has to be said that his, positioning was very poor. The defensive organization for that corner was also quite poor. And, you can't really have too many complaints about that. And I don't know necessarily if VAR would have done that. I might have to see the goal again. In fact, I actually do have the reel of that on Instagram. I'm just going to take a look at that right now. Just give me a couple of minutes, please.
Yeah, no worries, mate.
Because it was shared. It was shared actually to a famous Spurs fans. Davina Pindoria is her name. Social media influencer and all big time Tottenham fan. And the vibes. Yep, here we are. Spurs official and the Carabao Cup. Now, I'm going to watch the reel in theory and full. This is the goal in question. Beautifully worked with that right foot, spinning, coming down towards the goal. And I'll tell you what, Bergvall has his hand, by left arm. I do wonder if maybe the critics were a little bit too harsh on Bayindir, maybe.
Yeah.
But what they're saying is that obviously, given that Bayindir tried his best to use his right arm to make the save, and he failed to do that, then the left arm should never really have been that much of a problem. Hold on a minute there. Because ideally, if you want to deal with the corner, you want to make sure that you use both your arms when you're raising up. So you know what? Maybe if VAR had, checked it, there would have been a case to answer. Maybe, just maybe.
Do you think it was a mistake there was no VAR at all in this? I mean, you think, well, it might be used in the semis and probably the final, but why wasn't it used here? What is the reason? Can you think of it, Mr.
Yeah,
T?
I said it at the top of the stream, Steve. The fact that you don't have VAR for matches like this is a disgrace, because if there are smaller teams playing and they get mucked over by a wrong decision, it's really not going to be a good look. Just as not having DRS in the England-South Africa women's cricket test was also a poor decision, although our comprehensive performance rendered that irrelevant, by the way. But, for things like this, it was VAR that saved Juventus that day, and VAR should have come to the rescue for Manchester United. I think you could say that it's a case of justice because on the balance of things, Spurs were the better team and United were very lucky to get those 2 goals back. And I think the more you look at it, the more you think that maybe there is a case for Bayindir there, and there's definitely a reason why there should be condemnation for not having VAR for this game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've looked at it more now. I think at the time I thought, oh no, that might be a bit soft. It's probably the right decision, but then again, you got no VAR to say otherwise, and then I see it a lot more, and then I'm thinking, well, yeah, he did hamper him a bit there when he did get his arm a bit, hold his arm or whatever, and I think, well, yeah, that is a foul on the keeper then, and surely it should be disallowed. But then there's no VAR.
It could be because, if you impede the goalkeeper that way, then that should be obstruction.
Yeah.
If you're going to disallow Morgan, you've got to disallow this one.
Yeah. You're stopping him getting to the ball properly. So really, by all accounts, that should have been disallowed. Really, but would it have made much difference? I think Spurs may have still held on anyway. You don't know for sure, but you could say it should have been disallowed. Really, you look at it more and more now, and it looks like it should have been disallowed. But still, it still go down as a win for Spurs. They're through, so no matter what. So as you say, they probably really did deserve it. I think they were overall the better team and played the better football at the end of the day. But they're through, and don't give them much hope against Liverpool. But I suppose you never know. It is a cup game, a one-off, although it's over 2 legs actually, isn't it? So who knows? I mean, before I move on to the Bees preview, could you give a little prediction sort of thing? I know it's a long way off for the semis, but we're talking quite a way off, aren't we? I think I'm not actually sure when, but I know obviously it is sometime next year. But could you give some sort of prediction what you think may happen there? Do you think Arsenal will be too good for Newcastle, or vice versa? Or Liverpool should be too strong for Spurs, or whatever? What do you reckon, Manny?
I think we should edge our first leg tie against Newcastle at the Emirates and possibly end up with a draw at St James's Park. I do think Arteta will play a full-strength team for both those legs. He has to if he's serious about winning a trophy. So we should make the final. And as far as Liverpool and Spurs are concerned, I just think the way Liverpool are playing, they're literally a machine at the moment. They're scoring goals, they're conceding very few. Even with Queven Kelleher in goal, they're not really conceding too many. I don't have much hope for Spurs unless they get their defensive act together. But I'll tell you, they could cause Liverpool's defence quite a few problems. But Liverpool should be too good for Spurs, and I think they should beat them over 2 legs by 2 goals. So sadly, no Sonny and Cher, but it will be an Arsenal-Liverpool Cup final. An interesting stat is that until we faced them in the 2001 FA Cup, we never lost to Liverpool in a cup final. But Michael Owen broke our hearts with 2 goals that day. We should have scored at least a few more. I think we should have had a penalty, definitely, and we were denied it. We were robbed in many ways, but you have to take that on the chin. And the following season, we ended up beating Liverpool to second in the league en route to winning the ball. So you miss out on small things because it's a stepping stone to bigger things ahead. And Rich, I know there's an echo when I speak. It's because look, I'm speaking from my mobile phone. I can't help it there being an echo. I do apologise.
Yeah,
So
no worries.
Arsenal and Liverpool in the League Cup final. And as much as it would break my heart to say this, I think Liverpool will just be too strong for it.
So you can't see a North London final, really? No North London final.
Mr. B, it will not be North.
If it was to be, and I know this is a bit of a loaded question here. If it was to be a North London final, who could you see coming out on top? Seeing though Spurs haven't won a trophy for so many years, and they won it? Was it 2008? It was, wasn't it? They won the last one.
Yep.
Could they?
Yep.
Beat you in the final if that was to be? Could you ever see that?
With their defence, no chance. However, we've got to play Saliba and Gabriel in the final if we get there. I do not want to see that Polish, sausage, and I mean sausage, the meat sausage, in the final. Seriously, I don't. I don't want to see him anywhere near the starting lineup. So, if it were to be the final, we should win, and I will not ever support Tottenham in their quest for it. I don't care if my brother-in-law's a Tottenham supporter. We're not on speaking terms anyway, so it doesn't matter. But obviously, I will be cheering for Arsenal in that case.
I hope that's not the reason.
That's not the reason. It's not the reason. I mean, there are other reasons, and obviously, I won't divulge them on this stream. But I've got a lot of respect for Eugene and all his mates who support Spurs. Great bunch of people, and whenever we come together on streams, we're very respectful. And the rivalry between Arsenal and Tottenham, as our friend Ken said, you do not support Tottenham, benefits us. No chance. And that is why, as much as it might pain us, we've got to cheer for Liverpool to beat Tottenham, even if it means extending their stay at the top of the table. Simple as that. Sorry, Ego and company. That's the way it is. Learn your history.
Oh, good. Yeah, true. But by the way, Rich, we've just been doing your game, mate. We just spoke about your game against Spurs. Unfortunately, you missed it. But yeah, totally agree with that. But yeah, there was an echo. We know, Rich. Don't worry. Hopefully, you can fix it. I'm just doing the this one now, the Bees Forest preview, which what I won't do. It'll be a brief one, really. Won't be too long. So obviously, want to get going, want to bounce, want to get something to eat and stuff. I'm a bit Hank Marvin again. But obviously, I need to go into this because obviously it's tomorrow. It's a big game for us. Okay, we're back at home, back at the Gtech. So Hopefully we can do something. We can go back to winning ways again at home. But I think Forest are a tough proposition. I really do. I think they're a very good team. Got some very good players there. Like Gibbs White, of course, and you can't rule out Chris Wood either up front. He's had a bit of a hot streak, as we know, in front of goal, getting a few goals again. This is going to be a tough one for us at home. Could be our first away. It could be our first home defeat. I mean to say. But I'm going to bring Manny back on. I'm going to hear his case for them, maybe to tell me something about Forest, what he thinks of them, and what we might fear from them. So, Manny, can you say make a case for Forest here and what they might offer and what they might what dangers they might cause for us in this game?
Well, they're an excellent attacking team. Obviously, they've got Chris Wood, their top scorer, firing on all cylinders. And when you can call on the likes of Anga and even Taiwo Awani, a few others, you can certainly expect them to give you a really good game. And defensively, they're solid enough, of course. They do have a tendency to switch off a little bit every now and then. But the most important thing for you is to make sure you get in behind that defense. And I know Forest are the only team that have beaten Liverpool this season, and that was, of course, away from home. But this Premiership is still quite, a mad league in itself, and you've still got an amazing home record. No doubt about it. So I'm still confident to predict that you will keep that record. You'll stay unbeaten, but it could end up being a Desmond, and especially if you've got more defensive injuries and you've got to have Rorslev back in. I'm sorry for mentioning his name. You could end up being a little bit weak. You're going to need to ensure that you've got Collins and Damsgaard, top fit and playing well, and just make sure that you stay solid and allow Mbuemo, this Sade and company to do their bit.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's good news. I see there Norgard will be back. So that's good. I'm happy with that, at least. Thiago, don't know about him. Will he be back? I'm not sure. Probably not. Sepp got a minor groin injury. That's obviously Vandenberg. I think it'll be too quick to turn it around for Saturday. But we'll see over the next 36 hours. It will probably be too quick. Ethan, I don't know the full picture. Obviously, Ethan Pinnock, I don't know the full picture. But when it's a hamstring, it's never top. No. So it might be a longer one, but I don't know yet. And then there's Thiago. He's got a joint infection, Manny. Can you believe that? That's very unlucky. I don't know how that happened, but it happened. Unfortunately, we'll take care of that, but I don't know how long it will take. There's our list of injuries again. Matthias Jensen, hamstring. Gustavo Nunez, back. Rico Henry, knee. Aaron Hickey, hamstring. And Josh Da Silva, knee. Remains sidelined. Yeah. Not happy. Not happy with that. Why? How much longer will they be out? I want to know. It's terrible. It's not going to help us at all, Manny. Not helping us at all. Terrible. So, yeah, Nottingham Forest. Well, as you say, I rate this lot. I think they're a very good team. What a season they're having as well, let's be honest. They, what I believe, third at one stage, were they not? Were they third, I think? They've had a position fourth now. They're actually fourth, Forest, in the Premier.
Yep, they were.
You know? And they've been to big teams and won. They've been to Liverpool and won. So, well, what are they going to do to us then? Blooming hell, you know. We're not even a big team. So they're going to wallop us, aren't they? So, I know we got a great home form. I know we're unbeaten at home. I get all that, but I'm still thinking of the big picture here. If we don't score a lot of goals, we concede a few again and don't get enough, we're bound to lose because this unbeaten run can't carry on forever. And could it be Forest we lose to? Could it be that the first time now this season? And then we got Brighton away after this. It doesn't get any easier, Manny, then. Brighton are a good team. And we can't play away. So something's got to give, isn't it? Really has. But
yep. Yeah. Listen, I'm still confident that you pull off a Desmond at the very least because you still have a very potent strike force, but just make sure you get in behind their defense and keep your defensive solidity. You should be fine.
Yeah. Exactly. As Thomas says there, we need to build on home form against Forest. Yeah, we do. We're facing an incredibly good team. It's a big goal, but I believe we can do it. Well, you did say we could do well against Newcastle, Thomas, as well. And what happened there? But anyway, it's not looking good though. Defense, injury-wise. Let's just look at the preview. I'll just go through that briefly, Manny, and then I'm going to go. I'm sure you want to go somewhere and whatever. You got other things to do, but obviously I want to get something to eat. But obviously I just want to go through this a bit more briefly. And Kev's in here. Be up to you, Kev. I'm a big Sunderland fan myself, so I was gutted that your boys couldn't beat the Mags in the cup. Well, yeah, not as gutted as I was, mate. But yeah. Yeah, you support the old Sunderland. Yeah, they could be up in the Premier, couldn't they? End of this season. They could get promoted, possibly. So, they're going well. So, yeah, could have another Geordie derby there, isn't it? The old, the old derby there. So, yeah, but, yeah, anyway, so I'll just quickly go through this, Manny, and then we go, mate, all right? Brentford returns to Premier League action against Nottingham Forest. Yeah, the Gtech. Yeah. On Saturday, the Fortress Gtech, as I call it. Well, it could be. I don't know. The Bees will be looking to maintain their unbeaten and league best home record against the Forest side, who are flying high in fourth this term. Stephen Gillette. Could be Gillette. The best a man can get. Hey. Playmaker stats, the key matchups for Saturday's game. After finishing 16th and 17th respectively in the Premier League last season, Brentford and Nottingham Forest form and fortunes have significantly improved in 24-25. Currently 11th in the top flight, Thomas Frank's Bees host Nuno Espirito Santo's High Flyers, who are perched impressively in fourth, having snatched victory from the jaws of defeat in the thrilling 2-1 win over Aston Villa at City Ground last Saturday, Manny. It's Mr. Emery and Emmy as well. That Villa win underlined.
I remember that. That was the same day that Arsenal had that disgusting goalless draw against Everton, and I told myself I'm glad I didn't see that. It was a quality second half from two good teams, but some poor defensive mistakes from Aston Villa set them back. And but Forest were good value for their win. Some credit where it's due.
Yeah, definitely. That Villa win underlined the spirit and resilience Forest have shown so far this season. And there are plenty of intriguing tussles and tactical battles in store at Gtech Community Stadium on Saturday. It was worth noting straight off the bat that Brentford's unbeaten home record will go on the line against one of the Premier League's best performers on the road. See, I'm worried, Manny. winning 4 of their 8
Okay.
games on their travels. Forest have amassed 14 away points this season. Only Chelsea 19 and Liverpool 17 have won more. Brentford's Premier League adventure today has seen them combine effective direct football with an evolving ability to control possession and dictate tempo in their own defensive third. In this respect, Forest are an interesting opponent, as they average the second lowest possession share, 41%, in the division, and the hosts should therefore have plenty of the ball. Well, good then, I suppose. The trick, however, will be to make that possession count. As much as like he did at Wolves, Nuno has moulded Forest into a lean defensive machine that can soak up pressure and deploy sufficient firepower to hurt their opposition. That brings us to our first matchup of interest, Brian and Bomo versus Chris Wood. 2 of only 5 players to reach double figures for Premier League goals this term, and Bomo and Wood have notched a couple of penalties apiece, but spot kicks aside, their goal-scoring MO couldn't be more different. Kiwi forward Wood leads the division for headed goals, 4, as he did last season, and has fired his other 6 strikes with his right foot, while Bomo has no surprises here, scored all 10 of his Premier League goals in 24-25 with his trusty left foot. Yes. Wood's aerial threat is a big reason why Forest are joint top of the Premier League goal charts for headed goals this season with 7. And it will be interesting to see how Brentford's backline divvy up the task of marking the 33-year-old target man. It's also worth noting that Forest ranked joint second in the division for goals from set pieces, 7 this season, as only corner kick aficionados Arsenal, 8, have outperformed Nuno's side in this regard. If we shift our focus to creating goals rather than scoring them, there's another fantastic matchup to focus in on. Elliot Anderson and Mikael Damsgaard have been 2 of their respective teams' most influential performers this season, and the 2 midfielders share a common ability to make things happen in the final third. It was Anderson's dynamic run and cross that led to Anthony Elanga's match winner for Forest against Villa last weekend, and the 22-year-old former Newcastle man currently ranks joint 7th with Damsgaard and Manchester United's Bruno Fernandes in the Premier League assist charts. Let's finish up with a quick word of warning for Brentford on the subject of counter-attacks. Nicholas Jackson's strike for Chelsea last Sunday came on a fast break, and the Bees have now conceded more goals, 5 on counters, than any team in the Premier League this season. Not good. Forest may have only scored 1 goal from counter-attacks this term, but they led the division for goals on the break in 23-24 with 9. And the dual threat they pose from quick transitions in open play and dead ball situations is very much reminiscent of Brentford themselves. Game on. Yeah, Dan Long, Nottingham Forest on course for top 6 finish. Well, it's possible. Very possible. What do you make of that, Manny? Oh, you're gone. What do you make of that? What I just said there.
Yep, I heard all of that, at least most of it, I think. And so some interesting stats, some interesting talking points. And basically what I'm going to say is what I said to you earlier. You've got to get in behind their defense and make sure that you do not allow them to, develop on the ball, because obviously with the likes of Elanga and company offering some pace, whether it's starting or off the bench, they'll certainly, give your defense a good working over, and you're going to have to make sure that you are, ready for that challenge. And to answer whether or not they will, finish in the top 6, it's a possibility, but in the end, I don't think they'll do it. I think some of the other bigger teams are just going to, recover and, in the second half of the season, they're going to start to fade away. It normally happens to teams like Forest who, have a great start, but then, just can't really build on that. I mean, they start really well, but then, due to circumstances, they can just fade away. It happens to a lot of teams.
Yep. I probably agree with that. They're probably just not quite got it yet to get to the next level, to get into the top 4, 6, whatever, 5, whatever. So, yeah, but they're brilliant so far. They've had a great season. I'm sure they're confident and happy with the season, and not struggling like we were, both of us last season, both teams struggling near the relegation zone. So I think they're a very good team. I really rate them. But I am wary of them. I just think we could get our first home defeat here, but I hope not. But as for the team, I think we'll have Mbomo back definitely. He'll be back in from the start. He'll start the game definitely, Mbomo, and I think obviously Norgard will be back. Obviously, me will continue with Pinnock out, of course. Now we don't know who else. Collins obviously will continue. Aya, I would think. As long as we don't bring Rawsleff in, Thomas, please don't play him. We might be okay. And obviously I think Lewis Potter will continue at left wing back, I would say. It'll be almost the same team. I think Yarmuluk might drop out. Jan out, continue, and Bomo Visser up front. Possibly with Shardy, or possibly Damsgaard will come back as well. So I still think we got the strongest sort of team there, Manny. I don't think the defence will be, well, not at its best again. Maybe we may concede a few yet again, but if we score a few again, we'll win it again as usual. So I suppose that's all we can say. But for my prediction, I'll probably go with what you were saying, like a Desmond maybe. If we could go for us to win, I'd say maybe look at the scores we've had so far: 3-2, 4-2, whatever. So probably like maybe a 3-2, 4-2 again. Who knows? But then again, Forest could win it. There is that possibility as well. So you'd think I'll be more confident, wouldn't you, Manny, playing at home?
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen you that lacking in confidence when it comes to playing Forest. But listen, just make sure you play the way you've normally done against some of the other teams you've had. And of course, bear in mind, I don't think you've faced Manchester City or Arsenal or some of those other teams yet. So, you will probably lose your unbeaten home record sometime soon. The only thing is just try not to lose it too early, because a great home record is always going to be an advantage, especially if you want to stay as high in the league as you want to. I think you should be fine. I'm sticking with a Desmond. And the last time I called it 3-2 against Newcastle, they ended up scoring one more. So maybe they'll make it 3-2.
Yeah. Hopefully, Manny. Yeah. I might clip that, and see if that happens again. Why not? No, I love it, mate. If it happens, if we can win again at home, be unbeaten. But then again, I'm still then just worried about going to Brighton. We got Brighton after that, and we can't play away. So what happens? What do? We lose again then, and then all the good work we've done at home, all the good stuff, it's disappeared. It's gone in a flash, in an instant. That is the only worry for me, mate. But yeah, hopefully we can win this. Hopefully. So come on, you bees. Come on, lads. Let's come back. Let's bounce back, as the old saying goes, and see what we can do. But thanks for coming in again, my friend. It's been a great stream yet again. We haven't had many in the live chat. Obviously, Rich has been here and Kev, but thanks to you all that have been in there. But where can we find you, my friend?
Well, first of all, big up to you, Steve, for hosting the stream. And you can catch me here, as always, on the football chat, and also on the channel where you chat England cricket. I'm a regular there, of course, and
Yeah.
also do catch me on several other channels. Shout out to Del Boy Gunner TV, Coach's Corner, Horace Talks Football, Up the Chairs in all departments, Tony Claude Gunner TV, Danny AC TV, Rich Sports. Big up to him. He was in the chat earlier, of course. Football United with Anthony Herbert and Gun Down UK, the Southern UA TV. Big up to him. I was on his watch along last night, of course. I mean, in the chat, rather, I should say. And also other channels like Football Overseas and AFC Talk Show TV, and a few other channels, of course, where I've made quite a few appearances, all very special channels to me. And if they don't believe me when I tell them that they're special to me, there will, of course, be, as always, a check in the post. But I have to start writing some of those checks. And today is the 20th of December. 5 days till Christmas, everyone. So, as always, you all know what to do. Make sure you stay safe and have your preparations there for the gifts you're going to give, the food you're going to have, a time to rejoice in family and togetherness, and just being grateful for all of the blessings that you have in this world, and also knowing that there are some horrible things taking place around the world, and we have to make sure that we pray that all of those people affected will find peace. And that is, of course, a prayer for everyone around the world. And hopefully, all of you will be safe and happy. And as always, do unto others as you'd others do unto you. Don't do anything that Steve or I wouldn't do. Enjoy the football coming up this weekend. Obviously, a good bunch of games, of course, and there will be more coming up on Boxing Day, obviously, and then New Year's Day in between. A pretty packed schedule these 2 weeks, and it's going to be a great deal of fun. We should have some Christmas crackers, maybe some sausage rolls and mince pies if you're peckish enough. Make sure if you're going to the games that the people will provide them there at the stadium. But until then, for now, Steve's got to leave, and I've also got to bounce, and we will see you again next time with hopefully some more to discuss. But if we don't see you, obviously, before this Wednesday, I hope you all have a Merry Christmas and a wonderful New Year ahead. Maybe if Brentford are having a Boxing Day game, I'm sure that Steve might be doing a preview of sorts. Maybe we could see you again, but just in case.
Huh? New Year's Day. New Year's Day against you lot, Manny. New Year's Day.
Oh, that's going to be fun. But yeah. Otherwise, yourselves. We'll see you all very soon. I've got to bounce. Steve does too. And as always, take care and God bless each and every one of you. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, just quickly, Manny, before you go, Carl's asked me if you want to go on his review, Prem review, later on. I think it's about 5 o'clock. You know, Carl Horwey, I think his name. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I know football overseas. I don't know if I can make it. I've got some errands to run. I've got some things to do. I don't know if I'll be able to make it. But thanks for the offer.
Don't worry about it. It's cool. I'll let him know. Don't worry. But no worries, fella. Thanks for coming on yet again. As per usual, it's been a great stream. Follow me on Insta at Mr. B for Life 182 and subscribe to Mr. B Hive Football Chat and Mr. B Chats England Cricket. Thanks, guys, brilliant, and thanks for all your support over the year. It's been great as usual. I could do with more subs. As you know, I'm still only on 109. That'd be fantastic. I won't beg for them, but it'd be great if you could sub to me if you're new in here and keep smashing the likes and everything. And as Manny said, enjoy your festivities and everything going on. And it's been a great year. Hopefully we can end it well. We got obviously Brighton after this. If we can win against Forest and Brighton, that'd be a great end of the year, for us, I suppose. But yeah, plenty of good things to come, plenty more content, of course, in 2025 as well. So thanks everyone once again. It's been brilliant. And I hope you've enjoyed the stream, watching it live or on playback, whatever. And until the next time, I'm obviously going on a stream later with Carl, maybe on his, so Prem Review. So watch out for that one, Football Overseas. And but for the time being, guys, I'm out of here. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.